We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Welcome to Pod Maverick. I am Kirk Henderson, joined by Josh Bowe. We are back for year, whatever this is, of our podcast. Thank you so much for staying up late to be psychopaths and listen to a podcast about the Dallas Mavericks preseason. Josh, how you doing?
Doing good. Another new background. I know some of our live listeners love seeing that I seemingly have a new background every podcast that
well,
we
and
do.
now that you are where you are, if you're ever bored during work, one of the things you should look into is creating like the fake backgrounds and just change them out every now and again and
keep the bit rolling. You should.
Well,
that's a good idea.
Well, okay, guys, we're here. It's Monday night. It is October 7th. It's the first day of preseason. When I told my wife there was a game tonight, she goes, "What?" Really great way to start. Really great way to start stuff, guys. And the Dallas Mavericks played the Memphis Grizzlies one day after Fan Jam, which we did not cover in the slightest, mainly because I just couldn't care. And then, of course, Luka hits a full court hook shot, which was just one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And so I was just kind of tilting my head towards this game. And really, as the we knew Luka wasn't going to play. It made some sense that Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson was going to play. PJ Washington having hip tightness was a weird one that I wasn't expecting. So the Mavericks were without their top four, and I had really just sort of expected a ho-hum game that I was going to have to bullshit through a recap about, which I wrote for Mavs Moneyball. And what do you know? The Dallas Mavericks played a really fun basketball game. Yeah, they lost 121 to 116, but I got to admit, man, Skin and Harp and Followell, like they didn't have to sell that game. Like there was nothing to sell because it was actually just kind of it was a fun back and forth contest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was very entertaining. I think you hit the nail on the head in your recap. The second, I think, whatever your final note there was about how you've kind of envied a team like Memphis for the last 5 to 8 years. Yeah, for a while, basically since Luke has been drafted. Mm-hmm. In the way that they just seemingly just find dudes through the draft and other avenues, not relying on free agency, trades, draft picks, the way that contenders are built in the NBA nowadays for the most part. And you kind of hit the nail on the head that the Mavericks feel like one of those teams now. Like they're deep. And this preseason game was, I think, a reflection of, I think, another salient point that you made about some of the really difficult decisions I think Jason Kidd's going to have to make with his rotation, because it seems like the Mavericks just have a lot of dudes that can do stuff.
And here's the thing. So the logical person would start with Dereck Lively. We're not going to start with Dereck Lively, okay? We're going to start with a guy who I beat the shit out of on the regular. Now that Josh Green is no longer here, Jaden Hardy has inherited the mantle of guy I didn't really want to see play basketball, and Hardy was dealing. Granted, the dude loses his dribble, and he every now and again where I'm just like, can you dribble, my friend? But 9 assists in a game like this. I mean, yeah, he played so many minutes. He played here. He played 34 minutes. He was the high minute man by a pretty wide margin. He was +4, 21 points, 9 assists. He had 4 turnovers, but a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio is fantastic for a guard like him. I have lambasted the guy going on 2 seasons for being someone who can't pass. And he was really good. He had a drive and dish to Dwight Powell where he put the ball where only Dwight could catch it. And all Dwight had to do was a dive. All Dwight had to do was do a reverse layup into the basket. And it's normally the kind of thing where Dwight Powell misses it because Dwight Powell is Dwight Powell. But Hardy he made it easy for the guy. And I was just really excited to see that because, you know, when Dante Exum goes down with a wrist injury, it's not something we've been able to talk about just because we've been being lazy and haven't recorded podcasts. You got to think that somebody is going to, you know, the expectation is that Spencer Dinwiddie steps up, right? And Dinwiddie was the kind of Spencer Dinwiddie tonight that none of us want to see, is what I'll say. He was stinky, but that's fine. It's preseason. I don't care. That said, it was really nice to see someone else be like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And that's what Hardy did. And he had some nice finishes. His shot's still a little goofy. He still like he's just not athletic enough for the sort of stuff that he wants to do every now and again. But look, you started this. The Grizzlies are a deep team. Like they were only playing without one starter tonight from their projected starting lineup. Pretty sure of that. Let me just go look here. Just make sure I'm not talking about it.
He's playing Ja, Bane, and Smart.
The only other guy they're missing is the guy Gigi Jackson. I think who's out with an injury. Like Jackson's
not going to be a starter.
Is he not, or is it Vince Williams? I'm getting these two guys.
Yeah, I think Vince Williams might start. But yeah, either way,
they have some play. But that's my point. Like you go through this roster and it's like Jesus.
Yeah.
And the Mavericks gave him a ball game. They could have came ahead with it. You know, there's a couple of small ththings in the fourth quarter go the other way. The Mavericks walk away with the W. And so I don't know. I just really wanted to give flowers to Hardy early because I just, you know, I'm not fair to guys very often. so let's go ahead and Jaren Jackson Jr. Obviously, thank you, Jordan. I'm sorry, I thought that was a bit of a given. Jaren Jackson Jr. Has strained his hamstring. So
yeah, it's funny. I think I might actually, for the first time, I'm not like I'm a big Hardy guy, but I think I might be lower on him in this about a performance than you, which feels hard to do because, like you said, he's become kind of your punching bag sometimes, which is okay. Yeah, he was good. I think, you know, the thing that kind of stood out to me, you know, the passing was big, and that's going to be huge, especially with Exum out, if he's going to be relied on to play more minutes with Exum out, because that was something that Exum did very well coming off the bench, was not necessarily running the offense, so to speak, but just keeping the offense going in a way. Doesn't necessarily need to be a high assist guy, but just needs to be able to keep moving the ball in the right way so it doesn't get too sticky. So that was good, and he's certainly gotten better at that from rookie year to this first preseason game. But it did kind of feel like same strengths, same weaknesses. Like his jumper has always been pretty good, 6 out of 10 from 3. He missed all of his 2-pointers, and he really struggled inside the arc. And it's kind of the same story that he's struggled with since he's come into the league. Is that he's, like you said, he doesn't necessarily have the handle or the athletic
that's the quickness thing where he's like, I'm this bursty guy that can do this stuff, and he gets his shit thrown back at him. But look.
But he doesn't need to do that stuff on this roster. He just needs to hit spot up threes and move the ball. And so that is, how can you not say that this wasn't a rousing success for him in game 1? Got 3 steals, but seemingly everyone on the team got like 2 steals. The Mavericks had 19 steals as a team, which shows you it's preseason game 1. But yeah, Hardy, if Hardy makes spot up threes and 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, like that's going to be a huge season for him.
So I gotta, you know, the lovely part about this show, and guys, we're gonna break here for the middle of the show here in a second, but I've got to talk about this because I really like reading the live show comments as we go. Sometimes we include them, sometimes we don't. Sometimes I wildly over-index the comments, as is people will note to me and follow-up emails and DMs. But this message from HT made me it's an interesting counterpoint. He says Gortman is greater than Hardy. Hardy doesn't have the head to be a successful pro, no mental development in 2 years, and he hasn't shown any consistent reliability. In between hot streaks, he plays losing ball. He is a weak link. Kind of working backwards. If Hardy is playing a lot, the Mavericks are having a bad season. So what I need Hardy to do is be the 11th man who plays every third game and probably soaks up 8 to 9 minutes. And can you not fuck up those minutes? That's all I need. Not being a screw up accounts for so much in an NBA team that's trying to win a title. So that's sort of where I am with that. I think we're being a little hard on Hardy's mental development. I do think he's I don't
have the insight to comment on that.
That's a tough, and near do I, but I think that's tough. I will say the 3-point shooting is pretty good. It's better. It's better than I want to give it credit for. Okay. Like he takes some pretty nice shots. Now he's not Tim Hardaway. He's not that kind of trigger. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, all right, so we're at about 10-minute mark. All right, we got some folks in here. We're hanging out. We're this first podcast probably going to be 20, 25 minutes long. And then, guys, I'm going to keep hanging on after a short break. We're going to do a live show where if those of you like Brian and other different people in the comments would like to come up and talk about the game, talk about anything we missed in the offseason, please hang around because I did not do a good job podcasting this offseason. That is my bad. Those of you who are hanging out, please consider subscribing to the show, Pod Maverick. We are live on YouTube. We go live after every game. We do secondary shows, live shows. I'm going to try to do those just about every game this season unless I get sick. Last year we had a child, so I wasn't entirely with it until
just that January. Just that small little life change.
Yeah, just a little life change, and things are better now. What else? So if you're listening on an audio stream, please consider subscribing. If you're here in the YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that bell. After you subscribe, hit the bell. You get notified when we go live. We want you to join the show and participate, hang out, talk with friends. We had a really nice crowd of people last year with a really nice community, and we want you to be a part of it. Also, consider checking out mavsmoneyball.com where Josh and I will have a lot of work this season. We recruited 10 new writers in the offseason. Looking forward to seeing what some of them can do. My man, Michael Harris, has already churned out enough work to make me gleeful that I even opened up the books to bring on new people. It's going to be a really fun season of writing at Mavs Moneyball. So now we're going to do insertion of some ads. Thanks for hanging out. We will be right back.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Okay, Josh, what's the second half of the show we should talk about? What do you think?
Well, we got to talk about Dereck Lively, right? He was pretty awesome. I think the clip that our friend Bobby Caralla shared on Twitter of him doing that coast to coast spin layup in traffic had a couple of nice passes.
Who did it look like to you? You can say it.
Jokic?
Giannis.
Okay.
I'm sorry, because the dude is jacked.
Yeah, he is jacked.
Lively is jacked. He's still such a young man too, and it's just I wrote about it, and you read it.
Yeah.
Lively is always going to get second billing in this draft class because Victor Wembanyama exists. In any other draft class, Lively would be talked about so much more. And, Skin said something, or maybe it was Follow, one of the two, said something about how the Mavericks are flying a little under the radar, which caused our Mavs Moneyball Slack to be like, are we sure about that? And then I told you to go look at the odds. And
I had no idea.
The Mavericks are still, for a lot of sports books, are at 49.5 wins. Like, what the fuck are we doing? They won 50 games last year and got arguably better. And a big part of that, just on its own face, ignore Klay Thompson, ignore Najee Marshall, is Dereck Lively is going to play more. And that is going to be enormous. I hope everyone is really excited for this.
Yeah, I mean, the potential for him, I think the last time we talked on our podcast, it's just off the charts. I've been on the record saying you could give me any scenario for him, and I would be like, yes.
Sure.
Like there's nothing I would say sounds outlandish for his development right now, and how good he is as a player, how posed and mature he is as a player, what he's already good at, and then like being that good at some of the stuff that he's good at already, which can allow him to work on other stuff to just keep improving and expanding his game because he doesn't have to stick to the fundamentals as long because he's already got so much down. Like you could just kind of see the confidence in him just on the floor, like, and that's natural for a lot of first year to second year players. They just know what's going on. Like they know the routine, and that just makes such a big difference. That's not necessarily something you always see like statistically, but just knowing how to get ready for games, being familiar playing in NBA arenas, going through warmups, going through practice. Like he just that knowledge is just so invaluable for second year players. And where Lively was already so advanced as a first year player, like I said, sky's the limit for year two. I said Jokic, and you're right. He did look more like Giannis on that fast break. I was thinking Jokic because I don't know if you saw that pass he made right at the end of halftime where they inbounded the ball to him, and he kind of did a really sneaky one-touch bounce pass to a cutter. I think it was Najee Marshall who then passed it to Dinwiddie in the corner for a really good open three to end the half. Dinwiddie missed it, but it was a really good play. And just like that feel of the game, like that stuff is just like, who was your draft guy that you had on that was really big for Lively? Like he felt like one of the only few people that was like on it in terms of like, hey, obviously he's the Tyson Chandler archetype.
Mr. Barlow, Raphael Barlow. That was such that podcast is so wild to go listen to now, where Raphael is like very confident and quietly confident, where he's just like, this guy's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And
he was one of the few people that talked about him, just not like, yeah, that the Tyson Chandler archetype, we all see it, but he was like, no, this guy has a feel for the game that's there, like a skill that is going to elevate, like he kind of sold, like that's going to elevate him from just being the rim running, rim protecting big. And you can just see it. Like there's just a little something there that he has. That's more like, he's a more dynamic player than I could have ever imagined just watching his Duke games and stuff like that. And it's just remarkable to watch him. And, he just had a great game. He played
really great. 14 minutes, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks, or 2 steals.
2 steals. Yeah, just a monster.
We got a pair of comments here from Brandon. I want to discuss them both. The first one he said is, if people viewed Lively more like they viewed Chet, they would have the Mavs higher. I want to circle back to that because I want to talk about the other one as well. He says, Jason Tempf, who's I met him this summer. Really interesting video blogger, really smart guy, nice guy. He's compared Lively to Jared Allen on his show. And that is not like, I like Jared Allen. Jared Allen can't finish like this now. Like he doesn't have this touch now. Defensively, I kind of like the comp. Big guy. Because one of the things I think is a little bit underrated about Lively, particularly in comparison to Chet, Lively is big. Lively's not like Chet weighed 205 pounds at one point. I weigh 240 pounds. Okay. Like it's, and I know obviously different body types, muscle, etc. But it's like Lively is enormous. He has the frame and he's clearly added some muscle this summer. That's only going to, he's still a young man. as he continues to get older, there's going to be a whole lot going on there. And that's really exciting to me. And I think that the Chet back and forth is so interesting because like Chet is a really incredible defensive player. Like Mavericks fans are kind of disdainful of him because of how he shot in that semi-conference or semi-final, whatever it was,
Western Conference semifinals,
whatever the fuck it was. And he needed to hit like 2 more threes, and maybe it would have been a different series. Like Chet was kind of a weak link for them offensively, but Chet's a great player, and I'm going to be very interested to see how Lively and Wemby kind of go against each other over the next several years, because it's so bizarre to me that already Lively is kind of not like a forgotten man, but it's like, oh yeah, well, there's Lively. And it's like, I'm sorry, he's already accomplished more than the other two at the NBA level. So what are we doing here?
Yeah. I wonder how much of that's going to change if Kidd follows through on Lively being the day one starter, and if they can get his minutes up. Cause that's gotta be part of it, right? Is that Lively came off the bench in that second half run. His minutes were fluctuating a little bit. He kind of got hurt. But then, I mean, you watch the playoffs, and I mean, there's, you would think there'd be no doubt after this playoff run. But yeah, there's still, I don't know if it's doubt. Like, because I don't think you'll run into anyone that's watched him and say, like, there's doubt. It's more just like you said, he just seems kind of not top of mind. And I wonder if that's just because he came off the bench a lot.
Well, and long live organic notes in the chat. He's, Chet averaged double Lively's points per game, and that is an absolutely fair thing.
That's the easiest thing to see,
and he's really impactful. Played more games. He was an Iron Man. Chet was last year, and I honestly think that took a toll on him in the playoffs.
Yeah, honestly, when that commenter that said something about like we need to be talking about like Chet and Lively together, that's not like a slight to Chet. Nope. That's more like a props to like Lively is at Chet's level because Chet is a great player. That's not trying to diminish.
That's right.
Chet.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So, well, were there any other things that were really worth beating home about? Was there any news in the last week? You and I haven't talked about shit.
Yeah,
both of us are not. I'm kind of throwing myself full force into this, and I think we'll eventually turn it around and start. My wife was like, "Why are you going to do one of these for a preseason game?" And I was like, "Honey, we've not recorded
because we have a contract, because we signed documents." Yeah, this game, like I'm sure there's some people that might be a little frustrated at some of the performances, like Spencer Dinwiddie, but like he's a veteran, and we'll see what he looks like. He did have the year in Dallas looks like such an outlier compared to the rest of his career the last 5 years, but we'll see. It's preseason game 1. Najee Marshall and Omax Prosper had really interesting games where when those guys were on the floor, they were just determined to get as many shots up as possible. Najee in particular, he was 4 of 11 from the field, so he missed So he missed 7 times. 6 of those 7 shots at least did not look great. And our fellow editor, Jordan Brodus, was giving me the business in our Slack because he was like, Josh, this was your guy in the offseason, because I really did talk him up. And I'm like, yeah, I still believe everything that I said. This was just a game where Najee had the opportunity to take a lot of shots because of no Kyrie, no Klay, no Luka. And he took that to heart, and he took as many shots as he could. It didn't look great, and I hope that doesn't temper people's excitement for the kind of player he is. And I think it's just more the situation of the game.
Quentin Grimes played the exact same number of minutes and got up 8 shots himself. Like them gentlemen were out there shooting threes, and I'm actually okay with this, because if you're going to play with Luka, you're going to get shots. You have to be willing to take them.
That's a great point. Yeah, and then Omax, like the one thing I sent this to our friend Andy Tobolewski, former Mavs Moneyball staffer and part-time contributor, when he feels like sending us an email every few months. Like he was like, I like Omax's activity, but why is this guy obsessed with shooting fadeaway step back 2s and missing them all?
Yeah.
And it was like, again, guys are working on stuff that they wouldn't normally get to work on. Like Omax will never be able to take those shots in a real NBA game, so you might as well get him in now. But one thing is, I kind of still want to see him do more of the stuff he's supposed to do. Like, I feel like when Omax gets these opportunities in Summer League in the preseason, he's just very intent on doing stuff to expand his game. And there's a part of me that's like, okay, even if Luka's not playing, even if it's preseason, I just want to see you in your role a little bit more, because he does seem to take a lot of jumpers when he has the opportunity in a preseason game. But that's neither here nor there.
No, there's something to it, because he's one of these guys in the sense of, if you're pining certain kinds of hopes on the Mavericks becoming a team that really competes for more than just this season. Because, I mean, look, Klay's older, Kyrie's older.
There's a window. Yeah.
There's a window. The window always closes faster than you think on an NBA championship team or a championship level team. Let's be clear.
Denver Nuggets.
And yeah. And you want to see something from him because you hope they can plug and play him in certain things. I don't see it. I also don't feel the need to kick him. Because and you're not doing that. That's not what I mean. But it's like, I will say that he's now the guy, at least when it comes to my mentions and people who talk to me, who his performance play to play generates the most emotion, where it's like this, he's the worst player I've ever seen, or wow, did you see that steal and dunk kind of thing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, people kind of pinning their hopes and dreams on. He's like, he's the new.
Josh Green was the guy who did this, by the way.
Yeah. Because Lively is not a prospect anymore. Lively he's established. Prosper is still the mystery box, right? He's the Mario question block. You don't know what you're going to get when you hit it.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah. And then I know I don't want to go. We're at 23 minutes, so I promise we're not going to do a long podcast on a preseason game one. I just wanted to get in because as the official 2024 Mavs Summer League beat writer this year, because I somehow did so many of those recaps, I feel qualified to say I like Emmanuel Miller, and he seems to be a right place, right time kind of guy. Like always seems to be where he needs to be, getting layups, scoring in transit. Like he just always seems to be right there. Like someone drives and he's right in the right spot to catch the ball and get a layup or get an offensive rebound or make a defensive play. He just always seems to be in the right place.
We got to give Jazz Gortman some love too.
Yeah. Give him some love. I don't know if there's much to say other than I like small guards that make shots. Like that's just,
oh my God. He had one hanging and one that was like, I'm sure you get half the chat that's like, let's cut whoever is in this position and sign. He was electric tonight. I don't know what to make of that because I just don't, he's 25 minutes, 7 of 13 from the floor, 20 points, 4 steals to go along with 3 rebounds and 3 assists. He was fun, and I can't ask for more. That's right. Where I'm at right now with him, and I don't really want to say one thing or another because you remember it was several years ago the French Prince made the Mavericks roster, and he came in and like I was very confused as to why he was even being invited to training camp because he was so bad and ended up being okay for the Mavericks. But it's just I never know. I never want to try not to stick my foot too far into my mouth about anybody in the preseason. So
that's fair.
Oh, okay. So here's what's going to happen. Josh is going to go do something else. I'm going to hang out here for a short break, and we're going to do our live show. So for those of you who are participating in that and have any interest in it, I'm posting the chat, pinning it to the stream right now. You can click into that, and I'll invite you up here, and we'll talk. We'll do a little hangout. Talk about whatever the heck you guys want, at least for, 30, 40 minutes. I have nothing else I have to do. The Chiefs are comfortably winning against the Saints with 2 minutes left, and I won my fantasy matchup where I played Kareem Hunt in the year 2024. So I know that stuff. Josh, you got anything before you get out of here?
No, just excited to get back in the groove. Want to appreciate just a quick shout out to people that reached out and just sending good thoughts and good vibes. Oh, that's always been appreciative. Love our community, love our fans. It's just fun. Let's ready to have some fun. We should deserve fun.
That's right, we do. Yeah. Okay, guys, we'll be right back. For those of you listening on the video, for those of you listening on the audio stream, the secondary show will get posted at some point tomorrow. Everybody, we will be right back. If you're live, everyone listening on audio, we will talk soon, and let's go Mavs.